do something, then bring the beat back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just practice that for a second. Like it could be any lick you want, but instead of continuing the lick, like just bring it back to the 2 and 4. So it's like, oh, he did something. Now he's bringing it back, because that's how you might set up a chorus, a bridge to a song. So like you got your beat going, you're jamming, you do your fill, could be some fancy kind of vibe. Then you like, okay, now you're in the ride. Now they're in the chorus of the song, and you do something fancy. You come back instead of just like kind of flailing. Like that's sort of like kind of like almost like regimental type of thinking. I think it just makes it more. It's just like that's what I'm always thinking when I'm like playing. I'm always thinking of like form and like, okay, I'm gonna do something now, and then I'm gonna bring it back. Then I'm gonna do something, and then I'm gonna go to the ride. Then I'm gonna do something, and then come back, instead of just like you're always just kind of. It's just like drums to me has got to be like a pulse. It can't, it's like there's certain things where you might do stuff that needs to be a part that you're like, that has like intricate patterns. But then I would always keep that solid too. You know what I mean? And then do something and come back to that. But right now we're just talking about 2 and 4, doing something, come back to the 2 and 4. Just practice. Let me just see how your timing is when you do that.
All right.
Stay at 2 and 4 for a second. Like right away, I noticed you added a. Thing, because seriously, because I've been in sessions where I'm with producers and they're like, no, dude, just play 2 and 4, and I'd be like, okay, boom, pop.
Yeah.
No, dude, 2 and 4, just. I mean, you listen to even like Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. I mean, it's just going boom, 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 boom. They just want 2 and 4, and I get that down solid. Then, as you start adding stuff, it'll just be flavor, Go back to that. Just 2 and 4. That was it. To me, I swear, dude, that sounded tighter just in general as a feel. You know what I mean? I mean, I hope I'm not like, wearing you guys out with this, but I'm just trying to just show you that I swear, that's what got me every gig I got, is I go in there and I just lay it down. Then if they want me to show off, yeah, I could solo like a maniac. But before, that's what like, right there, to me, was a better feel. Yeah. And then you started adding licks that were more solid. Because I could just tell you were just like laying it down more instead of just kind of floating or whatever. But yeah, that was good. I mean, just think about that as, as a way of going back and forth. But let me check out you before. That right away, did you notice the difference in like feel from your feel or whatever? Like his feel was a lot, even though it was kind of like the same tempo, your feel was a lot more like laid back. Yeah. Your hi-hat was lazier. Yeah. You know what I mean? So even, when he was talking about, well, it's just 2 and 4, really I noticed the difference right away, and just the, not that anyone's worse, it's just more like that's your personality. You know what I mean? It was just a little more like, You had, you know, it was swing. I can tell like you were swinging in your head more than you were like, you know, like so the licks you were doing and stuff were kind of just like swinging. You know what I mean? As far as like, you know, technique, as far as like holding the stick, because I noticed. Let me see how you're, because you know you'll get better tone and stuff and determine. His technique was you know, pretty good as far as like where he holds, you know, like the fulcrum, like would be there. I noticed yours was kind of more like this. You know, you're kind of doing this thing like this or whatever. But the way that I found that you can get the most snap and stuff out of your is like if it's an extension of your arm. So instead of like this, kind of like, so it's like, you know, it's like this, like an extension of your arm. You know, like holding it out like that. You kind of had that. Yeah, you kind of had it more like this. So while you were playing, you know what I mean? It had a better, it just, I find in the end, like, I noticed that you know, were kind of like this too. But my teacher right away said, like, you know, like keeping it like this as an extension of your arm, and this kind of lays right there, like in between. You know, this is the fulcrum. Yeah, like that. More than like this. I noticed especially you. Like, right now, I'm going to just do like single stroke rolls. Like, right, and that's your doubles, right. That's better. See how that's more, then, yeah, I just noticed when you're playing, you're kind of playing like this. You know, and like if you just start getting used to it being an exact extension of your arm, because then when you're playing, wherever your arm goes, it's just kind of like that's where, instead of like this, it just starts to get like, it just looks, especially looks wise too, it starts to look sloppier. You know, when it's an extension of your arm, it's definitely like more solid.
How long do you take lessons for?
I took lessons for about 10 years. You know, just like off and on. Like I said, you know, I started just on a pad for about 3 years. You know, just practicing. You know, and just like, you know, just like all those. Just practicing like that on a pad just the whole time. And then I got into, like I said, kick and snare, practicing, you know, the 2 and 4, AC/DC, just, or R&B, just any, you know, rock. I was listening to AC/DC because it's just so, you know, boom, ba, you know, like just that pulse. Or I'd just like put on some like R&B radio, play all the like, you know, this like the, you know, like that kind of like really like, you know, just like really slow, just like, you know, really just, you know. Like that's the simplest beat you can play, but to me it's the hardest, just going. You know, because it's got to be, if you waver a second, everybody hears it. Yeah. When, you know, when you're doing the jam and stuff, it doesn't really matter. But, so, you know, I just got into that, but I took lessons from the very beginning.
What do you do to practice now?
Now I just play.
You just play?
Yeah, because you know I was like practicing so much that my teacher was like, "Dude, just get in a band and play." So the reason why I'm showing you this Baião and samba is because that's how I learned to play. I joined a Brazilian samba band and went to Japan for a year, and we played 4 shows a night, 7 days a week, playing those kind of rhythms and doing that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's how I learned how to play. Is, you know, I just like joined a band or whatever.
What do you think about posture when you're going?
Well, yeah, my posture's horrible. You know, or whatever. I mean, it's like, because I'm always just kind of going for it. You know, I'm always leaned over or whatever like that. But you know, what the way I like to I think, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, set up your drums a certain way to make it so it's like easier to play. But I think, you know, what makes like, you know, the individuality is like, you know, having a vibe. Like sometimes I like spend hours just looking at my kit. How am I going to set it up for this show? Or I'm joining this new band. What do I want to say with the way it looks? You know, so I'll just totally like sit there for hours.